thank you, all of those who are in attendance today for our next installment of EFactor's Funding Tuesday events. I'll be the host, Jake Solomon, and we've got special guests here with us today, Professor Jim Solomon. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here, Jake.
Perfect. All right. So this event has far been the most popular webinar that we've done to date so far with EFactor, and as a result, we are at capacity with attendees. And so just for your listening convenience, so that there's no dogs barking in the background or anything going on, you've all been muted and will remain muted through the duration of this presentation. That said, a lot of you have already typed in and been using the chat box as well as the Q&A. And so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type them in either the chat or the Q&A. I will go ahead and monitor and manage those, and then at the end of Jim's presentation, we'll go ahead and answer as many as we can, and then those that we don't get to, we will answer those after the call and send those out to all the participants individually, either on EFactor's Funding Tuesday chat board or in an email. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop talking now since you probably don't want to hear from me, and Jim, take it away.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I'm honored that we're at capacity today, and I also want to thank the folks at EFactor for inviting me to do this. Marion, the co-founders, they have a noble purpose. They care about their folks, and they've been a great partner with Jake. So I was happy to do this when they invited me. I understand that many of the folks here on the call today are from outside the United States. So some of the things that we talk about may seem a little strange, sound a little strange, but I think that the fundamentals apply universally. So I hope you'll stay with us and think it'll be worthwhile. We're going to cover a whole bunch of ground in this hour, so I think we probably ought to get started with this. That I think there's probably 3 reasons that you've come today, reasons for needing funding. One is you've been thinking about a business. You haven't decided on one yet, but I already know what you've been feeling, and that is that it is exciting to go to bed at night, wake up in the morning, think about a new business. It's invigorating. So if you haven't started yet, you got something really important in your life coming, and you're going to enjoy it. Now, some of you have already started. You found some successes, but you need more money for more growth. You need to prime the pump. So there's a third group. Some that have been doing really well. You've been growing faster, however, than you can fund with your own profits. So you need some additional capital. Now, regardless of which of the 3 categories you fall into, all of you, would you think about this? When you first thought about going into business for yourself and you told somebody about that, maybe it was family, maybe it was friends, maybe it was a work associate, what kind of reaction did you get? For most of you, people said, are absolutely nuts. Why would you do that? Why would you go leave your job? Why would you take the risk? And you probably had some doubts in your mind or in your heart, but you probably figured out that you are the smart one. You're the only one who figured out that you're never going to get rich working for somebody else. And in today's world, there is absolutely, positively no job security. If you walk into work and your hair's purple today and somebody doesn't like purple hair or they don't like the way that you winked, it's over. So it is time for all of us to take charge of our own life. We are our only job security. And let me give you something that's of comfort. I think you want to Google this after the webinar. Go Google about millionaires and Great Depression, find is that more millionaires were created during the Great Depression per capita than any time in the history of the world. An accident? No way. It's because greater challenges bring greater opportunities. So I just want to give you a comfort feeling, okay, that you've made the right decision, being in business for yourself, and at whichever level you are of these three, help you. The important thing to know, you don't have to do this alone. So let me show you here today two basic things. First, how to raise $10,000 immediately, and then identify the education and the tools and the connections you need to raise $1 million. And you're going to probably be surprised that the basic fundamentals are common for both those levels. It's just the skill set and the knowledge that is the difference. So if you looked around and saw other people starting their own businesses and they've got funded, are they smarter than you? Seriously, don't that? They really know some secrets that you don't know yet. And when all of us start out in business or really anything in life, we simply don't know what we don't know. But in this hour, there's a that we intend to change for you. Now, as Jake mentioned, I'm Professor Jim Solomon. As you can see from my picture, I'm old and I'm ugly. But I've done redeeming things in my life. I'm going to get to about the fifth bullet point down, but people call me a serial entrepreneur, but I didn't start out that way. My first 8 years out of college was with Exxon Corporation, so I lived all over the United States, east, west, south, and they came to Utah to be vice president of Farm Management Company, which is the world's largest agricultural company. I became an adjunct professor in the MBA program at the University of Utah in 1993 and taught there till 2007. And during that time period, I had nearly 1,000 MBAs. I taught how to start and grow a successful business, and some of them you're going to see later in the presentation. I'm also a bean counter. I'm a certified public accountant, and for those of you overseas, that's a chartered accountant. The hobby, I'm a fishing nut. I love to trout fish in the mountains of Utah, but here's my greatest accomplishments, is that Susie and I have been married for 41 years. We have 4 terrific children, all married, and have provided Susie and I with 11 incredible grandchildren. And they're the delight of my life. Jake, who's on the phone here, has 3 sons and are 100% boys with all of the problems that come with it. And there's a lot of things that I don't do well in life, but one thing that I seem to have a knack for is raising money. And that I've been fortunate to help a whole lot of private and public companies raise money that's been in excess of $100 million. And those companies, many of them have been sold. And you see some of the folks down there like General Foods and Danaher and Oak Tree. Now, here's some that my friends say, and I like my friends and I appreciate what they say, is that about 15 years ago, Fran Tarkenton and I met. Those of you in the U.S. know he's an NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's also an excellent business person. He's now got his own radio program on Sirius, and he's on Fox Business News nearly every week. Fran and I started a program called The New Entrepreneur every Sunday morning, broadcast across America with this purpose. Our mission in life is to help people be successful in their own business. And so Fran, as you'll see later, continues to participate in what we do. And Jack Britton was the guy at the University of Utah who came in as the dean, really kicked the entrepreneurial program into gear. I was fortunate to be there. We became great friends, and hence my years at the university, I stayed because Jack was there and I knew that we could make a difference. But you're probably asking yourself, who cares about Jim Solomon or Fran Tarkenton or Jack Britton? You may not. Something that I think you probably should care about is that everything that I'm teaching you here today lived and I've experienced. There is absolutely no theoretical nonsense in anything that I'm teaching. It's not theory. This is practical stuff that works. And as a result, I've been able to help early stage entrepreneurs like you build successful businesses from the ground up. Now, if you can't tell by now, you will by the end of the hour, I love to help people who need it. I even help people who probably don't want it. What you don't want to do is sit next to me on an airplane from Salt Lake to Atlanta. Because by the time we get to Atlanta, we're going to have a new business plan for you, a new marketing plan, and a program to take you to the next level. This is my passion. It's my hobby. I mentioned that I go fishing, but I can't believe that I make money doing what I love to do most, and that is teach and help people in business. So, people, and I probably even ask myself, what makes me laugh? My mission, folks, is pretty clear. What did I teach for all those years, every week, during the night at the University of Utah? Was for the money? No, not a chance. They paid $3,000 per course, per quarter. Okay, so it obviously wasn't the money. And so Fran and I get up every Sunday morning, go to the radio station, and to broadcast out. We didn't make any money doing that. And why do they want to teach here today? It's probably this, is that I believe that I can make a difference. I've been blessed with some incredible experiences, good and bad. I think I've made probably every bad business decision that somebody could make, but I make them once. I thought about this. If I could use these experiences to help someone else like you, I feel a deep obligation to give back. And let me tell you the little story, and I won't make it long, is that the University of Utah recruited me back in 1993. They'd been seeing the newspaper, and we'd had some business successes and sold some businesses, and it was in the paper. So I called for the dean at the university who said, hey, meet me for lunch. The reason he knew me, I was a student body officer when I was at school in the College of Business, and I think that I'm going there and he's going to give me some award. But he doesn't. As we're there at lunch, he's talking about that he wants to take people out of business and put them in the university to bring some practical learning experiences to students. And he asked me if I'd take a shot, and he used some words that almost knocked me out of my chair. He said, I think it's time for you to back. And right then, my heart just pounded because I realized that God has a memory. I can remember back in the days of my very first venture, and you're going to hear a little bit more about it later, but I raised $1 million of money from a whole bunch of folks. The business was going not well. And I can remember trying to make payroll. I was on 2 Prozacs a day. I was in a fetal position on Friday mornings because I didn't know how I was going to make payroll. And I can remember that morning when Jake and the rest of the family, they're gone. And I went down to his older brother's bedroom and get on my knees and say to God that if you will help me get out of this, I'll lose all of my own money. I don't care. I'll start from scratch. But I've got $1 million of other people's money in this that can't afford to lose it. If you will help me get out of this, give back. It ended up being a Cinderella story because, as you saw on the earlier page, General Foods Corporation came in and bought 1/3 of our company. But right then, I knew that I could not turn down the dean. I had to go teach. And here's my problem. I don't know when God considers the bill paid in full. So in the meanwhile, I go out there and still do my very best to help somebody else, and hopefully you, to make life just a little bit better and more enjoyable. Now, let's look at why people don't fund it. Problem first, they're unprepared. They don't know what they don't know. It's not their fault. It's not your fault that you don't know that. How would you? This is brand new for you. Now, I also don't know how to tap into the largest source of funding. People you already know. They know you. And they know how to find other investors, like professional investors. They don't have a fundable business plan, and are unaware that there are several other clever sources of money. And people get funded because they don't know how to play the game. They're not dumb. They just don't know the rules, or they don't know the techniques. So let's look at where you might be right now. So imagine that's you, that dot. And around you, imagine there's some either dollar signs or euro signs or pound signs. There is money available to you right now that you may not be aware of, and it's within reach. So the purpose today is to help you find that stuff that's within reach and to show you how to get to your full potential. And you have it. I don't think there's anybody on this call here today that can't expand themselves by educating, by knowing what to do and when to do it. And then from tools, leveling the playing field, from connections, who do you know, or how can you get to those people who you know that knows somebody else? So you can expand your circle of influence and potential to raise more money. And can you get to $1 million? Absolutely. Now, I'm going to tell you about my first $1 million raise. So I grew up in a 1-bedroom home with parents, 2 sisters, in a coal mining town in Magna, Utah. And what I realized as I was growing up, I realized how poor I was. I went over made some friends on the east side of town in junior high school, and I found out, oh my gosh, some of these people have their own bedrooms. But I realized that it took money to make money, and there probably wasn't enough money in Magna, Utah to buy a 3/4-ton truck. So I figured this, I've got to expand my horizons. And then I went to the university. And there were people from not only all over Utah, but they were from all over the world. And I find it out that it's just as easy to take new friends that are rich as new friends that are poor. Now, I didn't go out with the objective of, oh, I just want to find rich people and make friends. I didn't do that. That's just not me. It's not my personality. But I found that there are a whole bunch of folks out there are blessed for whatever reason, either through birth, successful business, whatever it is. So I started to make a list. I can remember now, it was a yellow pad, which was very popular back in those days, and I carried it in my briefcase all the time, of people that I knew that had net worth. It kept growing and growing and growing. So where did I find them? Well, I obviously found them at school, okay, but I found them everywhere. At the health clubs, I joined Rotary, okay, at church, golf, out at the golf club. There was a zillion places where I ran into new people. And here's a motto that I accepted. They'll never, ever pass up an opportunity to meet somebody that you don't know. And so that has been my motto. And so what my suggestion to you here, get more. Expand your horizons and people that you know. But right now what I'd like you to do is, hopefully you've got a pen and some paper, is just jot down $10,000 due for you. What are you going to use it for? And how will it change your life? Now, for some of you, $10,000 investment is ample for what you need in business. For example, you might be starting your own internet marketing business. Now, if you're going to go out and build some kind of widget plant, no, it's not. But for a lot of you, $10,000 could be the difference of success with your own business, or staying in a rut that you're always fearful that somebody's going to fire you that day, or the company's going to go out of business. Now, next slide is what I think a lot of you have been waiting for. That is $10,000. How can you get it today? And you got several options. And we'll cover each of them more in a minute. But obviously, one is self-directed retirement accounts. I'll tell you what those are. It's clever. I use this so many times. Extended credit terms from suppliers. People that are buying things from, or get advance payments from your customers. We'll talk about that. Another one that I've used is giving exclusive territories to distributors and getting fees for them. And I'm saving the best for last, which is using someone else's wealth as collateral for your bank loan. Now, let's get into option number one, self-directed IRAs. Now, if you or a willing family member or friend have an IRA, you may be in luck, because you probably didn't know, most people don't, that you can access retirement funds almost immediately without incurring early withdrawal penalties or taxes. Most folks don't know it. And is it legal? Absolutely. I mean, this was set up by the federal government for what we're talking about, so that people can take their own retirement funds and invest them into a business, including their own, so that, why the government wants you to be successful in your own business? Well, the politicians will tell you, for the goodness of their hearts, but the reality is the government wants you to be successful, because if you are, you're going to hire employees, and you and they are all going to pay taxes. So it's very legal. They want you to do it. Is it easy? The answer is, if you try to do it yourself, no. There are some folks that for a very reasonable fee will help you convert yours or your family members or your friends' retirement accounts into a self-directed IRA that can invest in your business. Now, I asked myself when I first learned about this, should we encouraging people to use future retirement funds to start a business, and I wrestled with it a bit. I found a gentleman at church who told me that 2 of his sons had both within a week's time period lost their jobs, that he had been out sustaining them and families, and it was getting to be a significant burden, and found out about self-directed IRAs. His comment to me was, Jim, if I don't use money and help them to get their own business, I'm going to feed them the rest of their life. And you've probably heard that saying, that if you give a person a fish, you have to feed them every day. But if you teach them how to fish, you fed them for a lifetime. So my attitude about this has changed. Now, here's another wisdom that I think I've got. If you are a baby boomer and you are unemployed, and you saw from my picture, I'm with you guys. I'm a baby boomer. The chance of getting employed at the same kind of compensation that you were before is difficult. Now, so you're faced with this. You've got some retirement funds. It may be all that you have, but I think you've got to go through this thought process. If you can take some money out right now and you have got some confidence that you can use that money in your own business and change the rest of your life, that you don't have to worry about subsidiaries, subsistencies or all that, I think that your own heart and own head can tell you if this is the right thing to do. Now, this is my own philosophy, so I'm not trying to put any of this on you, but I had 2 parents that went through the Great Depression, and as a result, they kept all of their money. They were going to go out and enjoy life when they retired. Unfortunately, by the time they got to retirement age, their health was so bad that they never enjoyed the benefits of all of that. So, but I'm not saying go out and blow through retirement funds or anything else, but I'm saying right now, we are in very difficult times. They call it the Great Recession. My goodness, just call it like it is. It's another Great Depression out there. And so we have to take steps, all of us do, that we might not normally do or might not feel comfortable doing, but necessity is the mother of invention. Now, okay, would you like to know how to get more information about self-directed IRAs? Those companies that do that for a fee, just jot this down with a pencil and paper you picked up a minute ago, is that just send an email to STOK and say, I'd like more information on the companies that convert IRAs to self-directed. Okay, his email address is jake@professorjim.com. jake@professorjim.com, and if I don't remember, Jake, remind me at the end.
It's ProfessorJimSolomon.com.
Well, glad Jake was on here. All right, so Jake at Professor. Okay. So now let's move to on number 2. Now I know it sounds crazy, but it isn't. This works. Now, here's the reason that you need money, is generally you have to put money out to go out and buy things that you're going to sell or services that you're going to provide. But you don't get paid by your customers for probably 30 days. It might be 60 days. So the reason that you need money, and that money, which is the gap between when you have to spend it and when you get it from your customers, that's working capital. So let's talk about how this works. And you say, wait a minute, can this really work? All you have to do is ask for it. You might get a few no's, but you know how many yeses I've got? And that's because people that you are buying from, they want you to buy from them and their competitors. So they are willing to do things. They're maybe not willing to give you cash, but they're willing to give you longer extended payment terms than normal. Normally, people will give you 30 days to pay your bill. If you go to those suppliers and you say, hey, I'm a new business startup, I'm in need of additional working capital, can you give me, ask for 90, and then they may come back and give you 60, but with that extra 30 to 60 days that you would normally have, that's what you need. That can be tens of thousands of dollars right there, depending on what type of product or service that you're selling. But remember, you ask for it. They're not out offering it up, but just a little initiative. Now, here's something that I've also used a lot. That your customers are always looking for a deal. And if you offered a discount for upfront payment and delivery within whatever time period, that's how you do it. They, in essence, gave you the money they used to go buy whatever you were going to resell to them. You didn't need to go to the bank for the working capital. I even got one company to get an advance payment of $250,000 on an order, okay, which allowed me to go out and buy the equipment to manufacture the product to sell to them. So it's a great fun option that most people overlook. So let me tell you, you've picked up far more than $1,000 right there. Now, here's the one, and that's to sell exclusive territories to distributors. Now, what's this work? Well, here's what happens. If you have a product or service, and people somewhere else who like it and want to sell it in their territory, their geographical area, is you can actually charge them an exclusivity fee. It's kind of like a franchise, but you don't want to call it a franchise. And this works domestically as well as internationally. And let me give you a great example. First companies, which was that $1 million that General Foods came in, and a third of our company, is I was again running out of money. And I had payroll coming up in 2 weeks, and so he gave me the idea. He said, you know what, your product and your technology would really, the people down in Australia, would really benefit from this. And then the lights went on. Is by the time I ever get to Australia with a product or service, I'll probably be retired or dead. So what I did was I went out and researched people who were distributors for products similar to mine in Australia, and I started sending out, back then it was letters, guys, not email, and then I started making phone calls. I had two people come up to say, one from New South Wales, the other one from Queensland. One of them wrote me a check for $60,000 for the exclusive rights for New South Wales, and the other one wrote a check for $40,000 for Queensland. I picked up $100,000, didn't have to borrow any money, didn't have to give any stock ownership. It was like free money. And I have also done that here within the U.S. where I had something that somebody else wanted to sell. They didn't want to have any competition in their area. And I said, great, give me an exclusivity fee, and it's yours. Now, here's one that I've saved to last, because this one here is probably the most incredible way that I've seen not only to raise $10,000, but to $1 million. Okay, and it's using someone else's wealth as collateral for your bank loan. So How does this work? Okay, a bank doesn't care where they get the collateral for your loan. They're not going to give you a loan without collateral. Well, I'm just assuming in this whole webinar today that you don't have a lot of money sitting around and you don't have a lot of wealth that you use as collateral for your own loan. Okay, but here's the important thing. Bank doesn't require that it be your personal assets on the loan. All they require is they've got somebody's guarantee that they're going to get paid. Now, let me give you the example where I first learned this concept. I was hired by a company in Scottsdale, Arizona as a consultant to help them figure out how to fund the growth of their business. And they were growing, but they needed $1 million. Okay, so obviously I went to the owners of the business and they were all tapped out of cash. They had put it all into the business. I started to ask around and see who they knew. They all had friends that had reasonable net worths. These might not have been super rich people, but they had reasonable net worths. So I had an idea. I went to the local bank there in Scottsdale that they had been doing business with, and I said, look, my client needs $1 million. They don't have the collateral, but they've got some people who do, that they know. And the banker had done one of these before. It was Len. And so Len says, hey, Jim, here's what you do. Is those guys can go to their friends, say, hey, I'll give you stock, some ownership in my company, and you don't have to put up 10 cents of cash. You don't have to sign with me on my bank loan, because they did. Who signs on a bank loan, and there's 5 of you, the bank always requires everybody to sign. The bank go against any one of you. So he wants to co-sign with you on your bank loan. But what Len said is, Jim, there's 2 ways to do this. Either one, those people have CDs. Have them move it from their own bank to your bank, Jim, your client's bank. We'll hold those CDs as collateral. Or, here's one, Jim, you don't know about. It's called an irrevocable letter of credit. And so what happens is the people who want to invest in you, and who are these people? In a minute I'm going to tell you. But they want to invest in you. They don't have any cash, but they have some reasonable net worth. They can go to their own bank and say to their banker, hey, you know me, I'm a client. You know that I have a lot of wealth tied up in real estate or stocks or other things that aren't liquid. Will you issue an irrevocable letter of credit to my friend Jim's bank for, and the person determines how much they want to put collateral in for. For example, a lot of people say, well, I can't put in $1 million. I only want to put in, I'm only willing to risk $10,000. What happens is that person goes to their bank. The bank says, I'll give you an irrevocable letter of credit. I'll issue it to Jim's bank for $10,000. You tell me, your bank, % fee. So when I learned that, I went back to the company and said, okay, let's find a list of all the people that you know that have net worths, and we put together a program. We gave information to those people, to their banks, how the program worked, told the Scottsdale company, look, pay their 1% fee, give them even some incremental interest on it, and give them some stock, and put together a $1 million bank loan in an extremely short period of time And people who put the collateral only put up as much as they were willing to do, and they wanted to do. So, how do you pull it off? You find people, and I call this a cashless investment, because people investing in you don't put up a dime. Okay? And so the wealthy people put up a letter of credit that is issued to your bank. You give them some stock in your company for them taking risk, but you're asking yourself, who are the wealthy people that I was talking about? In the very beginning, it's the people you already know. A lot of you have thought about, hey, should I go to friends and family and all of this? And the answer is, that's where most money comes from. It's from people that you already know. Friends, family, business associates. Why would they invest in you? Hey, they know you. They believe in you. And one of the reasons that they might not is that if you don't have the fundamentals we're going to get to about business plans and that, but most of them do have a problem. They're not liquid, okay, so they don't have cash in around, but the problem works for them. Now, for you folks overseas, I don't know if that works with your banks or not, but I know that some of you on there, because the folks at EFactor have told me that many of you are doing business here in the U.S., okay, that will certainly work for you. And it works for your investors. Never put out a dime. They get ownership in your company. Now, let me tell you about one of the secrets that most people just don't know that is the key to getting anyone to money. And that is, your success is determined how you answer two questions that are in their mind. They may never tell you that's their question. They may talk about all kinds of other things during your presentation, but they want to know two things. How do they get their investment back, and how much money are they going to make? Now, the folks who are going to give you $1 million that aren't family and friends, those people are the angels. They're private equity groups. We know you how to find those people. And what they're really looking for, though, angels are people who, I don't know if it's proper to call them angels, but they've made money in their own businesses. They probably retired, and they like to help other businesses and believe they can find good opportunities and good bargains. So those are a good avenue. In fact, many of the people that ended up being on my list and my yellow pad were angels. Okay? Private equity groups are a little more difficult to get to, but these people are looking for a good return. They're looking for 5 to 10 times their money. They're hoping to find very little risk, so they're going to scrutinize you very closely, and they're going to look for a big hunk of your company. But it doesn't matter if it's a professional investor, or it's family or friends, or it's the bank. Okay, you have to have a viable business plan, no ifs, ands, or buts. Now, if you don't have one, it's kind of like expecting somebody who doesn't speak a word of English. They're vacationing in the United States, and they're going from New York to California without a roadmap and no GPS. What chance they're going to get there without making some wrong turns? It's impossible, okay? And people approach me every week and say, hey, are you interested in investing in my business? My answer is, possibly. Give me your business plan. And you know how many people don't have one? Honestly, why would I invest, or anybody else invest in your business, if you haven't taken the time to figure out if you can be successful, how much money that you're going to make, when you can pay them back, and how much money they're going to make. Now, let me give you some quick tips on business plans, okay? The helpful hints is nobody will ever get to your business plan if you don't write a good 2-page executive summary, which is the first thing they look at. And in the executive summary, the first 2 paragraphs are the most important. And in all of your business plans, make sure that you're setting benefits and not features. Make sure that your projections are realistic. If you're out of the park and saying that I'm going to make $1 gazillion and get 30% of the market, it's going to blow you out of the water. But if you've got love letters, and that is people who have sent you emails or letters that have said they would buy product or service if you would get that business going, that is perfect for people. They're willing to invest in people if they know that you've already got business. Now, in a second, I'm going to tell you about a student who had a $50 million business plan. But next, for your presentation and for your appointments, when you get the appointments, get them for early in the morning when people aren't distracted and late for things. Confirm your appointments in advance, making sure that if you're using a PowerPoint, there's a projector and equipment. Arrive early to get set up. And when you're making a presentation, dress appropriately. That's one level higher than the people that you're presenting to. Also, in real estate, it's location, 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 and in raising money, your presentation is critical. You need a PowerPoint. It can't go over an hour. 30 minutes for the PowerPoint, 30 for question and answers, no more than 20 slides. Leave time to wrap it up. Be confident in your presentation, enthusiastic, because people can see it. It's contagious. They know that your heart is in the business, and then ask for their commitment to invest. Now, is all of this worth it? And I can tell you the answer is yes. When that wire or that check comes in, what an exhilarating feeling. When you see your name in the newspaper, in a press release, that your business was successful, wow, does that make it worth it? Now, what next? For some of you who came to the call, you already found what you needed. There were some missing pieces, and you found them, and you don't need anything else, and I am glad you came. I am glad that we'd help you. For a lot of folks, though, this is overwhelming. Okay, it might be a little disheartening because you look at this and go, how can I really do this? Now, is it reasonable that you could be expected to learn everything in a 1-hour webinar? No, absolutely not. Not things that take a long time to do and to learn. Okay, but I'd like to show you how to get from 10,000 to the mill. And just to listen, this is the guy, Jeff, one of my students, wrote the business plan because I required it of every student, came to me after the semester, he got an A and said, do you really think it'll work? And I told him I absolutely believed in it. His dad went out and did it. Last year they did $50 million in revenue. They've raised tens of millions of dollars in funding, and all started from an idea, business plan that was fundable. Okay, Steve Bank was sitting in my class. I even remember the seat that he was in. When he was in my night classes during the day, he had 3 cell phone stores. He'd come to me at the break, says, I think I got a chance to sell my business. And so we worked out that, created a friendship. He went and took the money from that, and he created Simply Mac, of which he did over $20 million in revenues last year. Will he tell you? Yeah, the thing you're learning worked. Kelly, the next one, is Kelly's on the other side of this. She went over to the investment group. She's working and learning, using the things that she learned in the course or being as an investor. And this guy right here, I went to an awards banquet this week where he's honored as an entrepreneur and has been extremely successful. And what I appreciate was he gave some credit, maybe it's because I was sitting there, but he said the thing he ever did was had a professor that taught him to never pass up a chance to meet somebody else, somebody that he hadn't known. Now, all these MBA students, okay, by the time they got to me, they'd spent 5 to 6 figures for their education. You know what? In today's world, it's not about earning that MBA. It's more about the practical knowledge that you've got. And this is where we can help. Now, if you only need $10,000 now, you probably figured it out already. But eventually, you're going to get to the $1 million if you're that successful. So what does it take to get to $1 million? You know what? It takes education and tools and connections. And so the things that I knew, if I wanted to help as many people as possible, and I knew that with the power of the internet, that instead of just teaching 40 students at a time, I could teach 100. Okay, and so what I did was put together what I call $1 million funding system, which includes it's $1 million virtual boot camp. It's a series of webinars, 8 weeks of webinars to get through, but we go step by step, make it easy, make it simple, make it understandable. We also have the software to put together that business plan that is fundable. Obviously, for those of you who have a strong business plan in that could be introduced to somebody, we know who to go to if you've got the plan and the business that can support that. Obviously, the live office hours are, we do evening question and answer webinars, and then we've got all the things like the slide deck templates, the business plan portfolios. We've got an absolute ton of stuff that we know works. Now, you know, Jake, who works with the EFactor folks, says, Dad, you've got to give something away. It's part of the deal is that every time is that what Jake and the EFactor folks have done is I've got 26 10-minute videos on the how-tos of business, how to start it, set it up, how to even sell your business, that's added to the program. I've got my book, 6 Secrets to Starting Your Own Business, that's in. Fran has contributed his One More Customer ebook, and Fran and I have a 60-minute webinar of the 11 most frequently asked questions of all entrepreneurs. And then we've got a fast-track funding video series, 6 videos that are also included in there. Now, Jake had also indicated, though, that the first 10 folks who take this $1 million funding system program, they'll also get 3 plan or STOK critiques, where what you've done, send, review it, critique, come back, it can be pristine. You can have something that you've got tremendous confidence that it's fundable. We've also got a 3-hour big business idea monster webinar coming up where we take ideas that people have got. We'll help to develop. If you don't have ideas, you're going to get ones that we've got and suggested that are doing extremely well, and new businesses that people are starting. And if you haven't started one, it's a great place to get an idea. The last thing, as I mentioned before, if your business plan justifies it, okay, and you have a good, solid idea, is we know where to connect you and who to connect you with. Now, the complete system is, ignore those numbers on the right, okay, because I just asked Jake, go to these investment banking materials that I've got, and which is the world I understand, and just go take the pricing off of those and put it down, because if you had to go out and pay an investment banker to this or to help you, is the program, hey, expensive, and I don't think any of you either should pay it or want to pay it because you don't. But it really is worth the $20,000 there. It's just taken from the sheets that Jake was looking at. The important thing is this. Here's the good news, is that's not what I'm about. Is the real world value is $27,000, but if I'm going to help, and we're going to help as a company, the most people that we can, is that we've got to put it at a price that's affordable to anyone serious about their business. So it's priced at $97, and it even be paid in 3 payments of $373. But is this something that you want to do? I always look at things and say, if I believe in something, I'm willing to give a guarantee, and I expect other people to do the same. Now, for some of you folks here, if you can't see yourself making $10,000 with information that we've given you today, then you're really not ready for this system, and that's okay. You know, it just might be an issue of timing. Okay, but there are you out there that if this is the key to unlocking the door to success for you, then hey, let's start it today. There is no risk. Okay, you will raise at least $10,000 if you follow the program, and if you don't, you get your full money back. There's another guarantee, and that is if you don't have a business idea yet, you don't have a clue of where to go, you need some viable connections, we'll guarantee that we can show you some that work and work extremely well. So it really comes down to me to this. Does this thing make sense for you? And my suggestion has always been the same, probably this whole 62 years, and that is, listen to your heart. Okay? If your heart is telling you that this is the time for you to move in your business, then listen to your heart. If things started to click for you today, and you started to say, yeah, I could do that, okay? And here's the other thing. You can see now that you don't have to do this alone. You're not the Lone Ranger. If you can draw on the experiences and the expertise of other people, okay, then maybe this right now is the first minute of the rest of your life. And if this is the opportunity you've been hoping for, go for it. So if you think that this is for you, follow up. Click on here, or write this down, ProfessorJimSolomon.com/EFactor, that if it's time for you to do this, we would love to help you, and we're confident that we can do it. So remember, if there are other things, questions on the IRA conversions, it's Jake at ProfessorJimSolomon.com. So Jake,